I'm going to have the privilege right now to introduce to you Commissioner Chris Carr, the Commissioner of Georgia's Department of Economic Development. He is one of the biggest cheerleaders for Georgia that I've known, at the same time being on his team, and him letting us do our work and supporting us is absolutely incredible. I'll tell you, since we were here last year, since we were at the summit last year, there have been major announcements that have occurred under Chris Carr's administration of the department and under Governor Deal's administration of the state. Phenomenal in manufacturing, retail distribution, and third-party logistics. We've had announcements by Mannington Mills, Tyson Foods, Herring, and Kubota. Nearly 2,000 jobs in those. Retail distribution, Badcock, Kroger, Walmart, and Ollie's have decided to come here to Georgia. Nearly 1,000 jobs with those, and a couple of 3PLs to mention that are setting up shop here or growing in Georgia, Jarek USA and Gulf States Cold Storage. So tremendous wins in economic development frame for our economy in Georgia, for our citizens in Georgia, for our businesses in Georgia. And it is thank you to Chris Carr for that, his integrated approach. It is the one-stop shop for everything that's needed. Not only is he working to bring investment to Georgia, but he's working to get Georgia's products, whether it's agriculture, manufacturing products, out to the world, strengthening our small businesses. Film and tourism has burgeoned in the past several years, and more so under Chris Carr. And the most important to me that we'll be doing more work with him in logistics is the workforce division that has been brought under his leadership at the Department of Economic Development. So I'd like to welcome Chris Carr up to the stage.
Good morning. Thank you, Jannine. Appreciate that very much. And it's wonderful to be a part of the economic development team in Georgia, where partnerships and teamwork truly do matter. And let me tell you how excited I am to be here at the Logistics Summit, but more importantly, how excited we are to have you here at the 2015 Georgia Logistics Summit. Thanks to all of our attendees for making this summit the largest state-led event of its kind in the country. In fact, at the inaugural Georgia Logistics Summit in 2009, we had 450 attendees. And this year, we have more than 2,000 registered attendees, and thank you all for being here with us today. I want to thank Jannine Miller and our new director of our Center for Innovation for Logistics. She is doing an outstanding job. The entire team does an outstanding job, and the way that we all work together to make sure that we bring jobs to Georgia, we help jobs grow, is absolutely fantastic. I also want to thank our former director, Paige Siplon, for all that he did for so many years for our state, for growing this conference, and we wish him nothing but the best, but he's still a part of our team at the department as well. Our centers of innovation are exclusive to Georgia, and they cover 6 strategic industries: aerospace, agriculture, energy technology, information technology, logistics, and manufacturing. And I hope you've had the opportunity to meet with representatives from each of our centers at our networking reception last night. They provide the technical expertise, industry expertise, collaborative research, and partnerships to help the state's strategic industries connect, compete, and grow globally. And this past year was an exceptional one for the Economic Development Department in Georgia and for economic development all across our state. We couldn't be more proud to say that our state was named the #1 place in the nation in which to do business for the second time in a row by Site Selection Magazine, and also for the first time by CNBC and Area Development. The impact that Georgia's logistic network has in both recruiting new businesses and helping existing Georgia companies grow is immeasurable. And this morning, I have the pleasure of introducing Governor Nathan Deal, who supports us each and every way that he possibly can in economic development. Governor Deal is a leader who knows that a strong logistics network plays a critical role in creating jobs and investment opportunities in our state. He's a governor who knows that accessibility is essential to remaining a leader in the global marketplace. He's one who has made investing in our transportation network and logistics infrastructure a priority. And he has great timing. Just last night, he helped pass a transportation bill in our state, and we're so very fortunate to have him join us today. So please join me welcoming Governor Nathan Deal.
Oh, Georgia.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you all. Please be seated. Good morning. To those of you who are not from Georgia, welcome to our state. We're always pleased to have you here. I'm glad to be back for this conference again this year. Now, some of you who have been in attendance in the past are going to listen to some statistics that I gave you last year that are just better this year than they were last year. This is my chance to brag on Georgia. So please endure that if you will. But I hope in the process of us telling you what's happening in our state, if you're interested in expanding a business or locating, we hope you'll take a look at us, a serious look at us. There are some folks that are here today that are a part of our overall team, and let me just, at least in the generic sense, give a shout out to each of them, the Center of Innovation for Logistics. And I might say, Jannine, we're glad to have you back. Jannine had been our director of Greta, and she is now back with us. And Paige, congratulations on the great job that you have done for a very long period of time, and we wish you the very best in your new undertaking. Members of the Economic Development Team, of which Chris Carr is the leader. And by the way, folks, they have been recognized by the international organization as the best economic development team of any state in the nation. And their good work shows, and why they have been selected, I think, is very obvious. The Georgia Department of Transportation, we have representatives from there that are with us today. The Georgia Ports Authority, and I'll be talking about how important the port is to our state. And then, of course, there are many others of you who are involved in various facets of transportation, infrastructure developments, and we appreciate the fact that you're here today. As Chris indicated, we have achieved a goal that I threw out as a goal probably 3 or more years ago now, of making Georgia the #1 place in the nation in which to do business. You know, sometimes we all deal in just slogans and goals that are put up on a PowerPoint presentation, and nobody really thinks that they're achievable. We systematically went about trying to achieve that distinction. Early in my administration, which began in January of 2011, I convened business leaders from around Georgia and asked them the question, what is it going to take to make Georgia more competitive in the national and in the international arena? Out of that, we held town hall meetings in all 12 regions of our state, asking our citizens for input. The next session of the General Assembly, we came together and took many of those recommendations and implemented them through statute. One of the most significant of those recommendations was that Georgia could once again be a manufacturing state if we took the appropriate steps to lay the right foundation. One of those pieces of that foundation was to remove our sales tax from energy that is used for manufacturing. We did that, we rolled that sales tax back, and we have seen great dividends. And I'll enumerate some of the companies that have come since that change was made, and we are having more come virtually every week. So, who are those that have responded to that? Some of them actually were in the process of coming here before we changed the law. Caterpillar brought a company and a plant from Japan to mainland USA, and they picked the Athens, Georgia area as where their facility was located. And they have had a phenomenal success at that facility and continue to produce products, many of which are used here domestically in our country, some of which are shipped out of our port. Porsche. Now, Porsche is in the final stages of their North American headquarters facility, and some of you who perhaps flew into Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport may have seen the facility on the south side of the airport. They have not had the official opening, I don't think, yet. There's been a soft opening, but we're pleased that they would choose to come here to our state as well. Caterpillar, I mentioned. Kia came to our state in 2006 and continues to grow and continues to provide more jobs for our citizens, not only in their facilities, but through their supplier network that are coming to our state as well. Mercedes-Benz is one of the premier companies in the world that has now decided to move their headquarters here to the Atlanta area, and we're certainly pleased to have them. Baxter Pharmaceutical, a major pharmaceutical manufacturer, is making a $1 billion capital investment building a biologics plant just east of here off of I-20. And we are preparing to hopefully have more of the pharmaceutical industry come to our state because of the foundations we have laid for the assistance to Baxter Pharmaceutical. Comcast, another major player that it continues to expand and grow in our state. And there are hundreds of others, and I don't have time to list all of them. But in almost every instance, logistics and infrastructure are critical components for the decisions that these companies make. If they are manufacturers who intend to export finished products and import perhaps materials and supplies, the Port of Savannah is a critical component. If they are headquarters companies in which they need access to rapid transportation, access to the busiest airport in the country, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, is certainly a plus for us. We know that as a general statement, the Southeast is booming now in terms of economic development, and we are pleased that we are at the top of the pack when it comes to that. I mentioned the port several times, and we have an abbreviation, we call it SHEP. Our harbor and our channel leading to our port is going to have to be deepened in order to accommodate the larger Super Post-Panamax vessels that will be coming through the new and enlarged Panama Canal. It is a project that has been on the drawing board for a very long period of time. Actually, I think the initial authorizing legislation was passed by Congress in 1999. As of the end of last year, we finally had the necessary sign-off for that project to proceed forward, and the Corps of Engineers has now let some of the earlier contracts that are necessary to achieve that goal. But let me give you an idea how important the port is to our state and to our economy. Last year, Georgia experienced a record increase in both exports and imports for the 5th consecutive year, with a 4.9% increase in exports and an 11.5% increase in imports over the previous year, 2013. Georgia companies exported nearly $40 billion in goods and services to some 227 countries and territories last year. But we're not content to just stay where we were. We want to continue to grow, and the deepening of that port will allow us to do that. Now, access to the world and access to markets is critical. That's what you're here to talk about today. But we are very conscious of the fact that more than 95% of the world's population and 80% of the world's purchasing power lies outside of the United States. So therefore, future growth and job opportunities, both in our state and in our nation, increasingly depends on U.S. trade and investment opportunities in the global marketplace. By deepening our port, the SHEP project will allow our state to move forward in that regard. The Port of Savannah, by the way, is the largest single operator container facility in North America and is one of only a few ports in the United States with 2 Class I railroad facilities on terminal. It is the nation's fastest growing container port and the second busiest on the East Coast. So you can imagine how important the expansion is to us. I mentioned the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. It is not only the busiest airport, but our state has about 144 public and private airports scattered throughout our state. Hartsfield-Jackson is ranked 10th largest air cargo movement nationally and has more than 2 million square feet of on-site cargo handling space and allows business personnel to reach 80% of the United States market within a 2-hour flight time and serves some 6 continents. As far as rail is concerned, Georgia is served by our Class 2, Class 1 railroads and 24 short line companies, giving our state the number 7 rank in rail mileage with nearly 5,000 miles of railroad track. Atlanta is the 2nd largest inland port in the United States and the largest intermodal facility on the East Coast. It is the origin of 39 million and the termination for over 90 million rail tons of cargo every year. Georgia's world-class intermodal facilities are strategically located around our state, which enables importers and exporters to quickly and efficiently move their products across our state and from ocean carriers, to truck, to rail, and we have some of the finest and fastest transition times in the country. Logistics services. Of all these assets that contribute to robust logistics services in our state, we are home to 6 of the top 50 cargo carriers, including the world's #1 carrier, UPS. We are ranked 9th nationally with nearly 450,000 commercially licensed truck drivers. Of the top 50 global third-party logistics providers, 94% have operations in Georgia. There are more than 230 retail distribution centers in Georgia, representing over 175 retailers. Within a 2.5-hour radius of the Port of Savannah, area retail distribution centers represent more than 20 million square feet of warehousing. So we have a lot to be proud of. I mentioned to you that we consciously went about asking the question, what can government do to establish the proper foundations for industry and manufacturing to grow? And we made those changes legislatively. The second thing, though, that we understand, and everyone should understand, is that companies need a qualified workforce. For a long period of time, our state, like most states, has simply said, well, if you put X amount of dollars out there into the educational establishment, you will get the results that you want. But when we started looking very carefully and talking to companies about what they needed, we found that they needed very precise skills and people that had the ability to be taught and trained in their particular environment. So we put in place an initiative that's called the Governor's High Demand Career Initiative. And what this does is to focus, first of all, on those areas where jobs are currently available in our state, but we don't have enough qualified people to fill those job slots. We concluded the best way we could start growing jobs was to start there. Instead of trying to bring people in with new job opportunities, why not train your people to fill the jobs that are currently available? That High Demand Career Initiative, as of this legislative session, has now grown to some 11 areas where we have jobs available. And if an individual will go to one of our technical colleges and get the training and the skills in one of those 11 areas, we will pay 100% of their tuition to do so through our HOPE grant program. So we're working very carefully and trying to target our resources in that regard. And we're going to have great success and are already seeing the results of that. I mean, it includes such things as commercial truck driving. And if we don't have enough CDL licenses out there now, just think what the demand might be when we expand the port and we see even more containers coming into our state. So we have partnerships with our technical schools, with our colleges and universities, and we are trying to precisely offer the kind of degrees and the kind of skill training that businesses currently demand, and looking into the future, the kind of job skills that they're going to demand for their businesses as they grow and expand. So we have a lot of things I think that we can be proud of. We know that to have the #1 designation as a state in which to do business is one that you have to work hard to maintain, and we're doing that. As was mentioned from the podium, last night was a big night for the state of Georgia. We passed a major transportation bill that will provide needed funding for us to continue to work on our infrastructure and provide even better access to those who do business in our state and those citizens who want to get back and forth to their jobs in an expeditious fashion. And I look forward to signing that legislation in the very near future. So, we are an international state. Our international trade supports about 1.2 million Georgia jobs, which is more than about 1 out of every 5 jobs in our state. And those trade-related jobs grew 4.5 times faster than the total employment in our state from 2004 to 2013. As I indicated, we are a major exporter. We exported almost $40 billion in goods last year. And some of the areas that we excel in is the following: aerospace products and parts, pulp and paperboard, and motor vehicles and motor vehicle parts. Of Georgia's 14,869 exporters, 89% are small and medium-sized companies with fewer than 500 workers. So therefore, in our state, every business, large and small, is important to the future of our state. So, in conclusion, I express to you again the thanks for allowing me to come and brag a little bit. Governors are known for doing that, you know. I'm just glad that I have something to brag about. And much of what I have to brag about involves what you are doing. And as you have contributed to the growth and the prosperity of Georgia, I thank you for that. I hope that you will continue to be a part of our mosaic of transportation and infrastructure. And if there are needs that need to be addressed, please let us know. As I hope I have indicated to you, we are willing to take good advice and good suggestions. We think that those who are on the front lines and those who are engaged in the business community every day have a much better sense sometimes of what's important to be done. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your program today. Welcome to Georgia. Have a great conference.
Thank you, Governor Deal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't thank him enough for his leadership and for really getting it, understanding what it takes to make Georgia grow and our businesses be successful. You can tell he understands it, partially because he's lived it, partially and probably mostly because he does listen. And we would, at the Department of Economic Development, are a portal to get information to the decision makers at the state and to help make the case. And it's been a very successful several years. Governor Deal, thank you so much for listening and understanding and making it happen. What a tremendous day to have the legislature have passed the bill yesterday and Governor ready to sign it. Governor Deal's leadership is one that has initially been built over the years of leadership at the governor's office with the pinnacle of this summit, and yesterday's legislation is tremendous. I want to tail on with some of the things that the governor had spoken about in workforce development. There are a couple things that we need to do at the state at the center, Department of Economic Development, to help make sure that all that container flow that's coming through the Port of Savannah in this coming year and in the years to come, and you'll hear Curtis talk about the tremendous success that they've had there. As you all know, you experience it, but we're going to hear about what the numbers really look like both now and in the future from Curtis. And what we have to do is get our surface side logistics ready for all of that. And it is going to be a challenge, but we're up for it. The two things I'm sure of that need to be continue to have attention is our logistics infrastructure and our logistics workforce. You're going to hear our panel today talk about infrastructure. I want to talk with you a little bit more about workforce and the governor's high demand career initiative. Last year, Governor Deal went around, they met about a dozen times with Georgia businesses throughout the state. Very similar to the way the competitiveness initiative was done at the early part of his first administration, and we had some tremendous success in both policy and legislation coming out of that has spawned a great deal of growth. We anticipate the same activity here with our workforce development with the high demand career initiative. So I want to see if I can advance the slide. No. Okay, I was going to show you guys some things on the screen here, but there we go. There are 3 tracks of work that we're going to be doing and working to execute on the governor's high demand career initiative. The governor went and spoke with, like I said, companies all around, but some examples in the logistics frame. C.H. Robinson, Siva Logistics, Georgia Power, Home Depot, J.B. Hunt, Manhattan, Nordic, Walmart, amongst others, to really listen to what it's going to take to get the workforce that's needed on the ground to get the job done, to get their businesses positioned for the success that we know we can bring to them. So logistics was one of the industries. They also listened to companies in the agribusiness and food industry, aerospace, defense, auto manufacturing, film, and IT, amongst others. What came out of it is in logistics, there's about a dozen career paths that were identified that need education and workforce development to fill these open positions, and for them to hit the ground running when they get to your workforce for your companies. Maintenance technician, forklift operator, truck driver, industrial technician, warehouse workers, account managers, capacity account managers, refrigeration specialists, diesel technicians. Do these sound familiar as positions that you have open and need quality skilled workforce? We're going to be working to do that. One of the ways is through the education and training that we've got in Georgia. The first category of which is entry-level training and internships, and I want to highlight 2 for you in this category. Now, these that I'm going to show in these slides here are simply things that I've learned about in the past 2 months since I've been on the job. There is much more going on out there, and my goal over the course of the next year is to collect more information and do this connection that we need to do to get our state resources in workforce development and education connected with you all and your businesses. Entry level, though, is a big opportunity for us. There are 2 programs. One, then you all probably know about a lot of these. Maritime Logistics and Education Task Force, MLET, as it's affectionately known, down in Savannah. This brings high school students to see really what's going on in distribution centers and to understand that there is good work there. It's a solid paycheck with good companies and a lot of growth opportunity. Entry level, just seeing what's in the containers and how they get from the port to the retail shelves, I think has been very impactful for young adults in the Savannah area, as well as the new Fast Track Coastal Workforce Development Division program. I've got Jim Ledford's contact information under here. He is with the Workforce Development Division and Ben Hames' team. If you workforce folks are out here, will you stand up for me? I think some of them might be here in the audience today. And if you see them, grab them. If not, email Jim Ledford, and he will get you connected with the programs that are needed down in the Fast Track Coastal area. Let me tell you about this program. Right now, there's 26 students. They're finishing up their 8-week course. This is not we're going to sit in a classroom for a few months and then maybe we'll find a job. This is 8 weeks, first half is coursework. The last half is all experiential in distribution centers. Thank you to Schneider for our living lab down there in the Savannah area. These 26 folks, of that, 10 of them already have jobs. They're in their 8th week. The rest of them have been guaranteed at least 2 interviews with companies, and we have 100 students waiting in the wings for the next program that's going to get started here in a couple months. This has been a tremendous success with the Georgia Department of Workforce Development. So thankful for them and their work there, and there's more to come down in Savannah and hopefully around other parts of the state as well. In the veterans space is the second category I want to talk to you about. This is very, very important, I think, to all of us in the U.S., to all of us in Georgia. To me particularly, I'm so thankful for all that our veterans have sacrificed and done for us. There are 2 programs that I feel like have heard about and I feel like are going to be very beneficial for us here in Georgia as we transition our military into civilian workforce. Their skill sets are both the tangible skills of how stuff needs to move, where it needs to move, and a diligence with getting that done. But also it's a work ethic that I think is unparalleled elsewhere that will bring tremendous value to our workforce here in Georgia if we are able to capture them and bring them into the logistics workforce. Troops to Trade is part of the National Customs Broker and Forwarders Association of America. They are getting this started with certificates that if you're a veteran, you'll get a discounted price for customs and export technicians and specialists that will be certified. And then Georgia Tech is sponsoring the Veterans Education Training and Transition. This is not just in the logistics frame, but it's also in other industries as well. But this essentially captures the military folks on their way to transition, gets them positioned to be valued workforce. And there is Bill Astry's email address. I encourage you to reach out to him as well as Pam Brown on the veterans. If you are a company looking for veterans, these are 2 places to go. And then finally, these are pretty exciting things to me as well. The third category is just the purity of education. Georgia Tech is starting a professional education certificate program online. They'll have, many of the classes will be online. Some will have a hybrid experiential component as well. They'll all be up and running by this fall. Very, very low cost way to do self-paced learning that individuals themselves can choose to do, or companies can choose to send them through the program there. Tim Brown, if Tim Brown's here, I'll let you stand up. There's Professor Brown over there. And very, very excited for his leadership in professional education on behalf of logistics. He's a great asset to us, and I hope you'll get to know him. And then finally, Kennesaw State University is doing a survey, recruiting and retaining the next generation. Got to look out for an email from us on this. It's a 2-pronged approach. Kennesaw State, Michael Maloney there at the Coles College of Business is going to reach out both to the students. About 7,000 students in programs all around the state are going to get this survey to say, what is it about your career path that you want? What is it about your day-to-day work life that you're looking for? And what we found so far is there are ways that logistics companies and the work that we offer to employees do match up with that. We need to do a better job of telling that story. Then there are also things that we need to build more in, and we're going to survey you all to see if you do these sorts of things and in what way. Performance pay is one, flexible schedules is another, that this next generation is looking for. If we're going to capture them and keep them in our workforce and have our logistics network ready for the flow that the port is bringing us, I think it's going to be important to match up the needs of our workforce with what the job set that we provide to them. So. Those are 3 focus areas that we're kind of taking the ball and running with it, thanks to Governor Deal and the High Demand Career Initiative and the other work at the Department of Economic Development. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate that. We're going to have a good year in workforce development for logistics.